Surprise, surprise. Another Donut Media reacting video. What F1 drivers drive in real life? Ha ha ha.
F1 drivers get paid tens of millions of dollars to drive some of the fastest cars on the planet. They understand the intricacies of a car's performance better than anyone else in the world.
So with that type of knowledge and disposable income, could you just go back to driving a normie car? What do these top F1 competitors drive as their daily? One of them drives a GTR just like this.
I'm Justin. Welcome to Donut and the Peterson. Woo!
I went to the Peterson. It was kind of boring. This isn't it. I think this isn't it. This isn't it. It was boring, bro. There wasn't really anything. And also the Hamilton collection was under maintenance or something. I don't recommend going there, bro. It's boring. Just some
In a
cars.
collection filled with Aston Martins, Max Verstappen's Renault RS01 is definitely a head turner. This obscure French race car was made specifically for spec racing and Renault's Sport Trophy series, but it was later used in GT3 class racing. Its features include a carbon fiber chassis and is powered by the twin-turbo V6 from the Nissan GT-R. This combo is weird at first until you realize Renault owns 43% of Nissan. We've done stuff on the CEO and how sketchy things were. Look it up. And although this car is much closer,
I do want to say the Koenigseggs that are there are like the main attraction, but that is, you can see those for free. So that's kind of a yikes. So go in there, go see the Koenigsegg, go buy something from the gift shop, and that's it.
closer to the F1 race machine than it is a road car, it's still definitely one of the coolest pieces in Verstappen's collection. But if you want to talk about one of Max's road cars, it's hard not to mention his Ferrari Monza SP2. This is an SP1 because it has one seat, SP2, two seats. This V12 powered two-seater is one of the rare Ferraris you can get your hands on. Only 499 were ever made. The young Dutch driver had to shell out around $1.8 million to get his little Dutch hands on one of these Monzas. Lewis Hamilton is the owner of a one-off customized Pagani Zonda 760 LH. The LH stands for Lewis Hamilton. Specifically built for the seven-time world champion, the Pagani has 750 horsepower V12 in a manual transmission.
Man, that car looks so sick. I wish I could own a Zonda.
You heard that, a manual. The LH representing Lewis Hamilton's initials are found throughout the entire car. They're embroidered into the headrest and on the intake runners of the engine. By the way, though, he recently sold it for $10 million and he bought it for 1.4. So, trade up, baby. Now, this may not be Lewis Hamilton's actual Pagani. This one is $1.75+ million, and it's called the Tricolor. These cars are hand-built, which is why they're so expensive. They use Mercedes V12s, and they only appreciate in value. So,
of course, it's a fucking Pagani.
Neither will I. Lewis Hamilton is also the proud owner of 2 original Shelby Cobras. Not one, 2. Only 998 of these Cobras were ever made, each coming with a 427 cubic inch V8 with a 4-speed manual transmission. This one behind me is not of those 998. This is a replica, or else it would have wire around it, so I don't touch it. But of course, someone like Lewis Hamilton can't drive Cobras to every single F1 race. For that, he has his own jet. Lewis owns a Bombardier Challenger 605. This red jet holds up to 19 passengers and can fly at 530 miles per hour. He also sold that, though, to reduce his carbon footprint. So, good guy, Hamilton. 4-time F1 champion Sebastian Vettel has quite the car collection. However, none stick out as much as his prized Ferrari F40, of course.
The Holy Grail.
By famous Italian opera singer Luciano Pavarotti, Vettel purchased this historic car after winning his 4th championship in 2014. Sebastian is also a huge bike enthusiast. He owns a Suzuki T500, a BMW R9, and a KTM Duke 930, just to name a couple. He's also been spotted riding around on a Kawasaki 2-stroke triple. And I'm sure some of you bike guys are nerding out because I don't know what any of this stuff is. Esteban Ocon. Ocon?
Esteban Ocon.
Esteban Ocon is a driver for the BWT Alpine F1 team. However, back when he was racing for Force India, his car of choice was a Mercedes AMG GT Roadster, painted in a deep maroon color. This Roadster had a twin-turbo V8 pushing over 500 horsepower. And while it may not be as exciting as the F1 car, the Mercedes still makes for one fun daily driver. Fernando Alonso. In a world of Ferraris and McLarens, it might come as a surprise to see an F1 champion driving a JDM legend, especially when he's the third highest paid F1 driver, bringing in $20 million a year. Alonso, a driver from Aston Martin in this upcoming season, is the owner of an early generation Nissan R35 GTR. So the Peterson actually has the exact car that he drove, won 2 races in, and it's the last chassis that F1 had a V8 in, back in the good old days. The Fernando Alonso Museum in Spain is home to over 1,500 cars, many of which played a role in Fernando's racing career. He owns about 300 of the vehicles in that collection. Among them are the McLaren P1 and a Fernando Alonso edition Ferrari 458. But every hypercar owner needs a good daily. For that, Alonso has a trusty Honda CR-V. Daniel Ricciardo has an insane car collection, but among the Aston Martins and all the McLarens lies a car that Ricciardo is often reluctant to speak on. In interviews, he doesn't like to talk about this car. He's very secretive about everything from the model to the specs to whether he really even owns one or not. And when lists of his car collection are published on the internet, this one is usually left out. Whether it's because it comes from a rival team or because he's just a mysterious dude, who knows? But Daniel Ricciardo is the owner of a Ferrari 275 GTS. And while we don't know the specifics of his 275, there were only 200 of these cars ever made. The lowest recorded sales price for one of these cars is $1.1 million. He's definitely got his hands on a very rare gem. It's also worth mentioning that he has a Porsche 918 Spider, like this one, with a price tag rivaling the 275 on its own.
That's also one of my holy grail cars, the 918 Spider. When I saw it on the first episode of the Grand Turbo, fell in love. That car, the P1, even the LaFerrari, incredible cars.
This 1/3 of the Holy Trinity is quite the collector's piece to be proud of. If you don't know anything about 918s, this was Porsche's first hybrid car. It has 2 electric motors and a V8 mid-mounted, reminiscent of the Carrera GT. This was like the replacement of that. One of the things that I like about these cars is they all have like a really bright trim color. This one is this highlighter green, and I think it's a nice touch. Carlos Sainz, driver for Ferrari, has started to add supercars to his collection, but for the majority of his F1 career, Sainz only had one car to get him to and from the paddock. It's Mark 6 Golf GTI. This car holds a special place in his heart. It was a gift from his parents when he turned 18, while driving on the track for McLaren, Toro Rosso.
Also, I want to say all these guys are rich because to the F1 driver, you have to be rich. You have to have money. You have to, have a whole lineage of driving pedigree and all that stuff.
And Renault, Carlos drove a good old Volkswagen on the streets. After completing his first season with Ferrari, Carlos retired the trusty Golf when he took delivery of a custom Ferrari 812 Competition that he ordered through Ferrari's tailor-made program. The 2016 F1 champion Nico Rosberg owns one of the highest horsepower production cars ever made. We're talking the Rimac Nevera. The Nevera is powered by 4 electric vehicles. The Nevera is powered by 4 electric motors, one for each and every wheel in the car. Together they make 1,914 horsepower. And while it's the 3rd on the list for horsepower, the Rimac Nevera is the #1 car in speed. With a top speed of 258 miles an hour, this Croatian hypercar is the fastest electric production vehicle in the world. And like all of his cars, Nico isn't afraid to drive it. In his vlogs, we could see him ripping the Nevera through the mountains of Monaco. The car even has a drift mode, which turns the front motors off and sends 1,224 horsepower to the rear wheels.
I go for it, no? Like,
you have to get used to the car. No.
But all that power going to 2 wheels is even a lot for Nico. He spun that $2.2 million cars on a hairpin turn when he tried to slide it. This is not an actual Nevera. This is a pre-production concept of it, and it is beautiful. It's a blue metallic flake in the white with blue carbon fiber. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It is beautiful. If I were to tell you that Jenson Button drove a 2-door rear-wheel drive convertible Honda Roadster, your mind would probably jump immediately to the S2000. And while this car checked all those boxes, it's not an S2K. The car we're talking about is the 1966 Honda S600. And although it wasn't sold in the United States, the S600 S600 was the first car that Honda mass marketed. At first glance, you wouldn't be able to tell it was a Honda. It looks much closer to the European sports cars of the time than it does the Hondas that we know today. Being Honda's first car advertised and sold in the European market, it definitely had to fit with more of the local taste. And fit in it did exactly. If UK-born F1 champion Jenson Button chose this little Honda as his chariot, then you should too. Behind me is an S600. I'm kidding. This car behind me is the N600. Actually, I've been told this is the first one off the boat. The late James Hunt was as wild as a guy could be. As such, he needed a car that could hang with his energy and match his reputation. His 1975 Porsche 911 fit that bill perfectly. Painted in an eye-catching yellow, the 911 was gifted to him by Lord Hesketh of the Hesketh F1 team. He continued to drive that same Porsche even when he had started racing for McLaren in his 1976 championship winning season. Behind me, I have a 1972 Porsche 911 Targa. Not quite the same car, but as close as we could get. His Porsche was right-hand drive and one of 6 made that way. It was a homologation car for the 911 RSR endurance racer. Adrian Zoodle never actually found any success as an F1 driver. Throughout his career, he had 0 wins, 0 podiums, and 0 championships to his name. What he does have, however, is an insane car collection. The largest car collection of any F1 driver, past or present. It consists of multiple Koenigsegg's, Ferraris, Bugattis, and Paganis. Can't win them, you gotta win something. One of Zoodle's cars in particular is cool because of the way he modified it. Adrian has a Porsche Panamera that he calls improved, like we all do when we mod our cars, right guys? A lot of times the Panamera is looked at as an oddball of the Porsche lineup. It's a little big, it's a little funky, it smells a little bit, and it's not one of Porsche's sexiest cars. But Adrian's modified Panamera takes the car to a whole different level. It's kitted out with a custom bumper, hood, side skirts, and a wing. He's about to go drifting. It looks pretty dang good. It's too bad that Adrian's more known for hitting people with champagne glasses and not for his super sweet Porsche Panamera. Ayrton Senna's name is legend. He's widely regarded as one of the best drivers in F1 history. We are currently sitting in front of 2 of his vehicles. He actually drove these, Turbo V6, V10. He also had a pretty cool car collection. And hiding amongst the European cars of his collection, we will find a Ford Escort XR3. This two-door hot hatch was powered by a 1.6 liter and ran on ethanol, a trait you can only find in the Brazilian market. As Senna's personal car, the Escort made for a great daily drive. Its retro yet timeless design makes it a car that draws emotion in every way. And this Escort is dope. It's the whale tail one, which bring back the whale tail. Start it right now. Bring them back. Among his fleet was the legendary Honda NSX. It was only right that Honda gifted him an NSX, considering all the work he put in to help develop the car. Fans of the NSX's great handling and stiff chassis have Ayrton Senna to thank. We've all seen that commercial on YouTube of him ripping an NSX around the track and doing that crazy pedal feathering technique. Pretty cool. We just got these new designs in.
Oh, that was awesome. McLaren, the Senna, everything. Nice collection. I mean, they're rich people. Well, peace.